You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Today is Friday, February 19th, 2021, and this is your daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. On today's show, details of Gates McFadden's new podcast, Who Do You Think You Are?, coming soon from the Nacelle Company. Brent Spiner offers Sir Patrick Stewart some character advice ahead of Star Trek Picard Season 2, and I've got the answer to Tuesday's trivia question. I'm Alison Pitt, and today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. First up today, we've got more details about Gates McFadden's upcoming podcast, which will feature some of her Star Trek The Next Generation co-stars. Deadline reported exclusively yesterday that the Nacelle Company, the production company behind, among other things, the docu-series The Toys That Made Us, is moving into the podcast space, and McFadden's podcast is one of their slate of shows that will debut at launch. According to Deadline, the company has finished construction of a new podcast studio and is kicking things off by announcing their first lot of shows. It's unclear from Deadline's piece exactly when the studio expects to launch. McFadden's new podcast, one of 5 in the announcement, will be called Who Do You Think You Are? With Gates McFadden. According to Deadline, McFadden hosts this lighthearted and intimate sit-down conversational series featuring close friends and former co-stars, reminiscing on careers, personal life, and Star Trek. Back in December, McFadden wrote on Twitter that she'd already interviewed Marina Sirtis, Jonathan Frakes, Will Wheaton, Brent Spiner, Michael Dorn, and LeVar Burton for the show. A different Deadline article that slipped by us last September gave us a few more details about the new show, namely that it is expected to be a limited series of 10 episodes and was originally scheduled to debut last fall. Brian Volk-Weiss, founder and CEO of the Nacelle Company, said at the time, "As the name of my company suggests, I'm obviously a huge Trekkie. To be working with Gates McFadden on a project like this is a great honor." Rounding out the Nacelle Company's slate of new shows are A Toy Store Near You, the Billy Galaxy podcast, Secret Histories of Nerd Mysteries, and For the Culture, some of which are follow-ons to previous Nacelle Company TV productions. Further details are still scarce about the Nacelle Company's new podcasts, but to learn more about their other productions, you can visit nacellecompany.com. Now, next up, it's safe to say that Brent Spiner knows a thing or two about being an android. When Spiner revealed the details of his new book, Fan Fiction, in a recent interview with Sci-Fi Wire, he also took a moment to weigh in on the future of the character of Jean-Luc Picard, passing along some friendly advice for his Picard co-star, Sir Patrick Stewart. Over the course of 7 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation, 4 films, and a season on Star Trek Picard, Spiner has had many opportunities to explore what it means to be a synthetic life form. On multiple occasions, Spiner's character would take on new personality traits, new abilities, and even a whole new identity, all while still playing Data. "We did all kinds of things, and I was inhabited by different creatures and personalities," Spiner said of his character. "It's a dream for an actor to be able to do that. And so really, I think of them all as the same thing in a way. It was all one character, even though the Soongs were human." Now, if you haven't seen the first season of Star Trek Picard, this next part is definitely a spoiler, so you have been warned. At the end of Ed and Arcadia Ego Part 2, the Picard Season 1 finale, audiences saw Picard's mind and life experiences safely housed in a new synthetic body. With plenty of expertise in this area of acting finesse, Spiner took a moment to speculate on what that could mean for the character and how Stewart might choose to portray this new version of Picard. "I really don't know what his capabilities are now," Spiner said. "I don't know if he has any extra skills or super strength or anything like that. I don't think so. I think it just allowed him to go on living. Or maybe he can fly," he added. In the show, the new synthetic Picard does not, in fact, possess superior strength as Data had. In fact, the synthetic life form is programmed to permanently shut down someday. According to Sci-Fi Wire, Spiner suggested that perhaps Stewart could try to act smarter because Picard might now have better capabilities than his original organic brain allowed. Whatever happens with the character, the new synthetic body is a major plot point, one that will likely see exploration of the synthetic side of Jean-Luc Picard in the second season of the series, which is due to begin filming any day now. Until then, you can catch up on the first season of Star Trek Picard, available to stream in full on CBS All Access. Now, I've got the answer to Tuesday's trivia here in just a moment, but first, a word from me. This show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Your support from as little as $1 a month helps us pay for our expenses like hosting and software, and helps us grow the show so we can bring you even more Star Trek news wherever you are. Please consider supporting the show on Patreon. You can find out more at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. That's patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. And a big thanks to you for supporting this show. Right. It's the end of the week, and now it's the answer to this week's Trek trivia. On Tuesday, I asked you, the character of number 1 from the original series pilot The Cage and later from Star Trek Discovery was never named in the original series but is now known to be called Una. But when did Una become number 1's on-screen canon name? The answer? Technically, it was in the Discovery Season 2 finale, Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2, when Captain Pike called her by her name. However, Una is just one of many names that the character has had in various non-canon works over the years, including novels, comic books, and reference books. For more Trek trivia, tune in next Tuesday. Well, that's it for today's Daily Star Trek News from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Alison Pitt, with selected stories by Chris Peterson. We're supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out how you can add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. And finally, please make sure you're signed up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. Get all the day's Star Trek news delivered straight to your inbox every weekday morning. I'm back on Monday with more of the Star Trek news you need to know. I'm Alison Pitt. Have a wonderful weekend, and live long and prosper.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.